Let's talk about constructors. So a constructor is basically a special type of method within a class that is going to be run during the instantiation of the class. It's going to be allowing you to set the default values for the variables that are going to be used by the class. So constructor has no return type and it has the same name as the class. So you might be asking, why do we need to set default values? Well, that's a good question. Let's go ahead in our person class and take a look. So for this example, I'm actually not going to need the first name and last name, so let me go ahead and take those out. That was just to demonstrate the connection between fields and properties. But for this one, we just need the SSN password data and the driver's license number. So see, now we're hard coding these in, meaning we're giving the data inside of the class. We're assigning the values for the fields right inside of the class. But what if we need to get this data from the outside, right? It's like something that we need to assign to every person. Every person can't have the same password data and the same driver's license number, right? So that needs to be set from the outside. Now, think about it. If we can run this method before these are actually set, what will happen? This will not make any sense. So we have to have this kind of like gatekeeper that will say, until the data is not given in, I will not instantiate the object or the class. And until it's not instantiated, you cannot use this method, because this method can only be used on the instance of the class, which is the instanced object, right? So when you instantiate the class, you will get the object instance, and on that object instance, you will be able to use this method. But you won't be able to do it until you pass in the values to these, and that's exactly what a constructor will allow us to do. So I will say public person, and this is our constructor. Notice right now this will be just fine. This is an empty constructor, doesn't take anything in, doesn't set anything, and by default that's exactly what we have. And it's just underlining the first names and the last names. We'll take those out because we're not using them any longer, but there you go. So here you can see that we have these properties still hard-coded. Now, how can we initialize them on the instantiation? This is how. You just pass in parameter, just like to any other method. See, this is just like a method, has the same name as the class, but doesn't have a return type. So you can just say string, so you type, right? This is just another parameter, and you say SSN. And then you say string passport data. And you say string, and you just have driver's license number. Great. So now you can go ahead and assign SSN the value that will be coming from the outside. So this no longer needs to be set to anything that's hard-coded, because it will be overridden anyways. So let's actually go ahead and do this. And passport data. Yep. I messed up there, but this is the correct way to do it. So obviously you're assigning the value that's coming in to the field. Just the names are pretty similar, so sometimes you might mess up. So that's a very common mistake. But right now you have assigned every data that came from the outside to your fields. And now you can, once it's instantiated, this will allow this method to be run because you will have the object instance. Let's go ahead and check that out. So here, see, it's underlined because it says you need stuff to pass in. It says string, string, string. There are three things that it needs. So I will just say SSN, and then I will say string empty for the rest of the two. It's still, it's still an input, but it's just I'm saying they don't have passport data and they don't have driver's license number. So let's see what happens. So I will go through it. And then we will say step into, see, assigning the values to the fields. And then once it's out, it'll say whether it's true or false. And in this case, it's false, obviously, because it doesn't have the necessary documents. In this case, the password data and the driver's license number. But obviously, if I pass them in, so I will say data and more data, Then let's see what happens. So let's stop it and run it again. Well, I forgot to breakpoint it, so let's run it one more time just to be able to see the result. And it says true because everything has been passed in properly and the object has been instantiated based on the given data. And then only after it has been instantiated and the default values have been set, it then was able to give access to its properties, which has proper documents. And that's it. That's constructors. They're used quite often because objects need data to be constructed, and then the methods that are using that data make a lot more sense. So that's it for now.